On today's episode of Locked On 76ers, it's free agency week. It kicks off on Thursday, 6 p.m. We dive into what the 76ers needs are next, right here on Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts today. What's up, D? How you doing, bro?
I'm good, man. Excited for the start of free agency week. See what the boys do as we get things started on Thursday. I'm looking forward to it. How about you?
Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited.
Always
Calm
fun
before
to
the
see how
storm.
things turn around and what they do and how far they feel like they need to go in terms of reshaping the roster. We're going to get into all that next as we look and see what the needs are for this basketball team. But first, we need to welcome you all. You're Locked On 76ers. I'm Devon Givens from 97.5 The Fanatic Radio in Philadelphia, alongside my co-host and partner, Keith Pompey, the 76ers beat writer for the Inquirer.com. And we thank you all for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. And remember, Locked On 76ers is free and available on all platforms, including right here on YouTube as well at Locked On 76ers. Well, Keith, it's always an interesting time when we get to the start of free agency. The draft is now in our rear view. While we will address some things with the team overall, and of course with the acquisition now of D'Anthony Melton becoming official, we need to look at the needs now for this basketball team. Later on, we'll talk about Jaden Springer, the first-round pick from a season ago, and the Kyrie Irving situation and why that's important for the 76ers as we monitor that by Wednesday when he has to opt in or opt out the same way that James Harden has to do so for the Philadelphia 76ers in his contract. But Keith, some of the needs. We need to talk about the needs for this basketball team. They have addressed the backup point guard position with D'Anthony Melton in the trade for the 23rd overall pick, which was Dave Roddy, to Memphis with Danny Green and his $10 million. That's now official. D'Anthony Melton in and Danny Green and the number 23 overall pick out. So with that, they have addressed that point guard position. Also being a combo guard and a defender at what he is at that size, you can say they addressed a little bit more athleticism as well with that pick, but with that acquisition, but they need more. And I ask you first, before I give mine, what else do you think they need to address as we get ready for free agency now on Thursday, 6 p.m.?
You know, I think they need a backup five. I mean, I think that's the one thing that stands out to me the most. You know, I understand, we look at, Charles Bassey. We look at Paul Reed, B-Ball Paul. There's two guys who are, up-and-comers, guys who they have, they say that they like a lot, but it just seems like they really didn't get the number. They didn't get the experience, and they may not quite be there in regards to being someone that you can depend on, right? Like, and now again, I know Paul Reed has played well in the playoffs in this limited time, but I think that for Sixers to win the championship, especially with Joel Embiid, I know he was healthy for most of this past season, but his injury history, I believe that they need to go out there and go get someone who is proven, someone who's a veteran, and someone like that who can help them out, in that capacity.
So no faith in the young guys right now. You're along the lines of Doc Rivers, who just simply didn't feel like throughout the after the trade happened with Andre Drummond and Seth Curry, Ben Simmons going to the Nets, that he would give them an opportunity. And he did not really give them much of an opportunity. I thought that Charles Bassey was the likely candidate to move up a bit in the rotation, even as a rookie, just to get a little more run and see what he could actually do. And we never saw him. He just kept feasting on the G League competition because that's where he was. When he was with the big team, didn't play much. Paul Reed got the go ahead in the postseason, and he flashed. He showed a few things, but you're right. We don't know if he's going to be ready. And at the end of the season, he did talk a good game where he felt like Doc trusted him a little bit more, but he knows he doesn't trust him completely. And that's one thing that he wants to work on and do the things necessary going into the offseason to come back and be a more complete player for what his role might be as the main person behind Joel Embiid, or even as a rotational big with someone else when his number's called, just to be ready and, again, show Doc Rivers and his teammates that he's worthy of being out there. But I guess when we look at it, Keith, and they didn't address it in the draft, and you talk about having a veteran 5 right now, obviously the last 2 years they did so by acquiring Dwight Howard with the league minimum, a veteran league minimum, and the same thing for Andre Drummond, where they were both willing to come in for the league minimum. Can they pull that off for a third consecutive offseason? I don't know.
Yeah, and then that's the thing. And I don't want to make it seem as if like I'm hating on these dudes, like I'm not going to play them. The thing is, I think they're good. I just think that right about now is like the 76ers would be probably better off having someone else in there that they can learn with. You know, I know people say, well, look at Golden State. Look at this. Well, you know, Golden State is extremely guard heavy, right? We're talking about a team where the center spot is vital with the 76ers. So when I talk about stuff like that, you know, that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, prime example, like top free agent centers right now, like Mo Bamba's a restricted, Andre Drummond, Nick Claxton, JaVale McKee, you know, LaMarcus Aldridge, Dwight Howard, Hassan Whiteside, you know, Derek Favors. You know what I mean? So guys like that, in my opinion, are quality you know, centers who have had experience. And then when these other guys develop into their role, then you can have it. But like when I'm talking about Andre Drummond, JaVale McGee, those are two guys that you can, especially JaVale McGee, that you can get, you know, at a discount.
I don't think he's going to leave Phoenix. I think that with his relationship with Chris Paul and how he played this season, and especially now with the uncertainty right now of what DeAndre Ayton's future is with that club, I think that I'll hold off on that one. I would lean more towards Keith, and to be honest with you, I would go back to Dwight Howard, and he's not going to get much money. Andre Drummond is going to warrant a little bit more money now that he played starting minutes with the Brooklyn Nets. So if they feel like they can trust Dwight Howard again, knowing that he's going to be Keith cheaper, where he's going to again probably only play for a 1-year deal, and with everything so up in the air in Los Angeles, I would look back to Dwight Howard and see where that is if some of the other things that may fit better don't work out. Mo Bamba is going to cost too much. Andre Drummond, I think he's going to get another opportunity elsewhere. LaMarcus Aldridge, he can shoot and all of that, but I like the fact that he can shoot, but I don't unless you're pairing him, giving him his minutes, but also the same way that they use Nick Claxton, that would be Paul Reed or Charles Bassey's role. If they're going to go committee that way, then I'm fine with it. Other than that, I feel like I want somebody else, and I know you're not going to get much point production-wise from Dwight Howard, but defensively and rebounding, I think he can still contribute, and he has been here. He knows the system. He knows the players, and he would benefit also from James Harden's passing. So that's one that I would look at if we're talking about the backup 5 minutes.
That's a good one. Good one. But those are just names that I'm telling you.
Absolutely.
Guys who are just more experienced, been in bigger games.
Yeah.
You know,
and people won't like to hear Dwight Howard again.
You know what I mean?
Nobody's going to want to hear Dwight Howard again. I may be in the minority.
I think it's a reason why they didn't re-sign Dwight Howard. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's the thing.
Their backs might be up against the wall where they may not have a choice in this particular case. It may not be something that happens right away. It could happen a few days down the road, July 3rd, 4th.
And how old is he now? 40?
Probably.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if he's 40, but he's up there, 38? So I don't know. I would look at it because he does seem like he can still play some minutes there. And again,
Dwight's mad at us. He's only 30. I said only, but
36.
He's only 36. But it seems like he's been around because he's been in the league for 18 years.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So, but listen, that's just one way to go, I think. And again, we can talk about it a little bit more as we get into Jaden Springer next and why this offseason is really important for Jaden Springer, the first-round pick from a season ago. We'll tell you why it's important for him to be in the rotation somewhat next right here, Locked On 76ers.
BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports development, league reviews, and news, including track and field, Major League Baseball. And you know what? It just passed, but you can still get stuff on the NHL playoffs just to, just see what's going on, right? But BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. And BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to check in on your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and actions. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Welcome back to Locked On 76ers. Keith Pompey, Devon Givens with you here. Thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Now podcast for nightly recaps of every NBA game with analysis from our local experts. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. In this case, again, the offseason. That's what you'll focus on with the Locked On Now podcast. Go ahead and check it out. Keith, with our offseason here in Philadelphia, talking about the 76ers, we mentioned it. Again, the big men in the first segment also need to, as we talked about, approach while they have a guard with some athletic ability to him. They still need to address the wing position. And with that, could come in the form of a free agent or a trade, but it could also come in the form of, as they talked about during the end of the season, Doc Rivers and Daryl Morey, Jaden Springer, and his development with the Delaware Bluecoats and what he was able to do. You look at him, he's still, 6'3", 6'4" in terms of size, right, Keith? But he has a stocky build, young. And maybe, just maybe, as we watch some of these other teams advance in the postseason, you look at some of the younger players playing some minutes. They don't need to play 20 minutes and contribute. Maybe he's not ready for that. But playing throughout the regular season is going to be really important to see if he can crack that rotation. Similarly to what we were talking about with Isaiah Joe, Paul Reed, Charles Bassey, guys that never really had a chance. This is an important offseason, Keith, for Jaden Springer, as they try to find some wing help, some wing depth on this basketball team.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's an important offseason. It's one of those things where I keep trying to look and I keep asking myself, like, is he going to get more minutes? Is this going to be
there for him?
I mean, it's there for him. But also, I think there's a lot we got to find out who's going to be on this roster, when the regular season comes. But, Jaden Springer was a guy when they drafted him. He was the second youngest guy in the draft. But he was a guy when they drafted him. They talked about, his defense and how he brings that and the toughness and the tenacity. And that's something that they really were looking for, they say, this offseason. So you feel like there's a role for him, right? Now, the thing about Jaden, if we want to be honest, like even from the summer league, like, it really was, he was playing on that summer league team with Tyrese Maxey, Isaiah Joe, Paul Reed. Like, these three guys were the focal point of everything. So his job was to stand in the corner, catch and shoot, and play some D. So he really wasn't able to be featured and show his game. And then when you look at the G League, right, in the regular season, he averaged 15.2 points. The problem is he shot 22% on threes. Now,
that's not his skill set right now.
That's not his exactly. But what they want is they're looking for 3-and-Ds. And then, like in the Showcase Cup, he averaged 15 points and he shot 28% from threes. And then in the playoffs, though, in the playoffs, it was 4 playoff games. He shot 50%. But like you said, that's not his game right now. But you feel like they're going to want somebody out there that's going to be able to stretch the floor a little bit. Now he can come in.
I think that's where it comes in the form of the others. Is Joe ready for that?
Yeah, but we're talking about him playing. Like, I don't think he's going to get on the court if he can't make that shot. You know what I'm saying? That's all.
Unless they look at him as a specialist just for his defensive ability and his cuts back door, his alley-oop, finishing it at the rim off of passes, and if he can maybe create himself a little bit of a shot there closer to the rim, bully a little bit because he does have a little stockier build and maybe he has a smaller body defensively on him.
Yeah,
it's a lot for us to ask, but The reason why we say why it's important because there's opportunity.
It's true, but we got to talk about what this roster makeup is going to be like. So you got Maxey, you got James Harden. James Harden's going to, dribble. You got Maxey doing the cutting. You got Joel Embiid on there. You may have Tobias, still. To me, I think the next player, and I get it, that cutting and all that, you're going to get in. But I think, like you said, Isaiah Joe, they want a guy who is going to be out there with them getting these minutes, who's knocking down shots and defending. The other stuff is like, yo, bro, we love you and all that, but that's Tobias' role. That's Maxey's role. You know what I mean? I honestly think I want the guy to play, but I think he has to show them at least that he can knock down shots.
Yeah.
Because if not, it's going to be Isaiah Joe.
No, I get that. But also, like when you look at, let's say, Golden State, since they won the championship, and you look at Gary Payton II, we already know Sixer fans want to look at Gary Payton II. I think we both believe he's going to stay in Golden State. But the point of it is that he's not a knockdown, scary shooter. He's a willing shooter, but he's not a knockdown, scary shooter. He did hit a couple of shots, but it's his defense that got him on the floor. And that's where I'm wondering, again, can they find that role for him while there are others who are going to be surrounding him and knocking down shots, and you hope they do fall? Will he be able to get himself on the floor first and foremost because of his defensive play? And Isaiah Joe's on the floor because of his shooting. And with his shooting, they then say what's really going to keep him on the floor, though, is his defensive acumen and development year after year after year and game after game, month after month, to see if he has it. And I think there's again a place for a specialist in that way, like Jaden Springer, if you have enough offensive people around him that they can then go to him. And I know what we've seen with Thibault, where they'll leave him alone and they dare him to shoot. And Springer, I don't think he's ready to shoot. But if this team is built the right way, I don't see where there's a problem in at least trying to find a spot in the space for Jaden Springer defensively sneaking his way on the floor. It's going to be a tall task, and summer league's coming up. We'll see what he has. But free agency-wise, they need to still, and trade possibly, need to address the wing position. When we come back, Keith, we got to talk about the saga that continues with in Brooklyn, up 95, where the Brooklyn Nets and Kyrie Irving, they still seem to be at odds of what his future and his contract might be with the team. We'll address it all next right here on Locked On 76ers. And I got to tell you about my folks at Rock Auto. They've helped me out a couple of times already with my taillights I've talked about and with my headlights that I've talked about in my car. I saved time and money by using Rock Auto. Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. It makes you feel so comfortable dealing with these great folks. Prices are reliably low for every customer. Why spend 30, 50, even 100% where you can spend way less, as we see, more for the parts from chain stores or car dealerships, where you can get, as an example, the Honda Odyssey fuel pump for $353 as an example from a chain store. You can get that for significantly less at $216 from Rock Auto. Why do I tell you that? Because, again, I've dealt with them through some personal experiences. I endorse them and ask you to check them out. They have everything you can need, from brake parts, tail lamps, like I mentioned, motor oil, and even new carpet. Done that as well. We encourage you to come and check out Rock Auto once again at rockauto.com. Go explore their easy-to-use website to find the solution to your auto part needs. Go to rockauto.com right now. See all the parts available for your car or truck, right locked on in there. How did you hear about us box? So they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. That's at rockauto.com. Welcome back to Locked On 76ers. I'm Devon Givens. That's Keith Pompey. As you can see under our names there, if you're on the podcast and you cannot see us, welcome. We appreciate you joining us. And we do have to jump around the league because as free agency nears on Thursday, once again at 6 p.m., an Atlantic Division opponent right now is figuring some things out. Send Ben Simmons there for James Harden here in February during the trade deadline. And not only was James Harden playing on what could be a contract year based on him opting in or out, the same thing can be said for Kyrie Irving, his former teammate with the Brooklyn Nets. And right now, Keith, when we talked about it last week, seemed like they were at an impasse based on reports. And now we're even hearing, Keith, that based on reports that they at least have talked about contracts. There was a contract offer that Kyrie Irving has yet to accept. And the latest, even if he doesn't opt into his $36+ million with the Brooklyn Nets, the reports are now that there's a chance that there's belief that he might, as far as the Lakers go specifically, be willing to forego the $36 million overall and simply accept the taxpayer mid-level exception at $6 million to join his former teammate in Cleveland, now with the Los Angeles Lakers, LeBron James. Keith, this thing is a mess up there, and good.
Yeah, it's a mess. I mean, it's crazy how when we think about it, let's go back to like 2 years ago when when James Harden wanted to go there. Let's face it, that's where he wanted to go, right? That's where he wanted to go.
He told you he always wanted to be here.
Yeah, that's what he told you. But he was working out with the Brooklyn Nets players that summer. You know what I mean? Leading into the season, right? That's what he told you.
That's it.
So the thing is, I mean, you look at it, and 2 years ago he said he wanted to come here, he wanted to go there. Then they made the trade for Ben Simmons, and we all thinking like, dang, after seeing how James played, they probably won the trade, right? If Ben could get on the court. Now it looks like Ben might be the last man standing. You know what I mean? Because Kyrie, that's what he asked for. But the thing is, it's like it's crazy because you kind of knew, like, when you looked at this, you kind of figured and you wondered, like, how long could the front office deal with it? Like, and I get it. You got to understand the guy. You got to massage him sometimes, so to speak. But like, as we said before, he missed more games that he played in. And right now, it just seems like they don't have a lot of options in regards to quote unquote trade partners, so to speak. And they have the Lakers, but everybody else act like they don't want them. For now, they're acting like that. But
and look, even if it was a sign and trade with the Lakers, who do they have to send to Brooklyn? Who would Brooklyn really want? Russell Westbrook? They're not going to take him back.
Exactly. And that's the thing. But you got to figure it out. Now, if I'm the Lakers, yeah, I probably want Kyrie. You want to know why? Because of LeBron. If LeBron says that's who he wants to play with, then I'm going to try to make the king happy if I'm the Lakers, right?
They've already done that.
Yeah, but I just think that right now,
if you can get him at $6 million, everybody should try to get him. Who? Even the Sixers. If he was to take $6 million with that mid-level taxpayer mid-level exception, even the Sixers would have to look into that. That would be foolish not to do that, as much as we're talking numbers like 36 and then requiring him to play like we expect him to play at an all-star level and get you to the promised land. If $6 million is the bill, you pay that bill.
Yeah, but it also goes with that is easy to say that, but in a league where the players run the league, basically, I mean, you're going to bring somebody in. It's easy to say that, but how's that locker room going?
Yeah, and most importantly, with James Harden, not even Joel Embiid, is more importantly the James Harden part of it.
Because I think Joel and Kyrie will get along greatly. I mean, they have a pretty good friendship, relationship. But I just think it's the Harden saga. But if you can let bygones be bygones, but the thing is, that will be a quality backcourt. The only problem is the last 3 years he missed more games than he played. And I get it, the COVID stuff, and I get all that. But it's like, the question is, can you depend on him? You know what I mean? That's the problem. Right. But it's funny, like, everything else is small potatoes, so to speak. And all the talk is about him and what he's going to do.
Yeah, and the other part that we need to focus on is, if things go the other way with Kyrie Irving, what does that mean for Kevin Durant?
Yeah.
And how that thing plays out there with him. Will he ask out? He's not going to want to go to battle with just Ben Simmons, who he doesn't even know if he can trust him going forward. So one more thing before we go. Why is this important for the 76ers? For me, I think it's just simply that's one less team to worry about if Kyrie Irving moves on. They might be able to bring somebody back in. They may not. But if this thing goes sideways for them, this is good for the 76ers. One less team to worry about competing against really for playoff positioning during the season.
But you know what? You're right about that. But you know what? If they do trade Kyrie, do a sign and trade with him to the Lakers, they would have to get rid of Kevin Durant. I mean, salary wise, you feel like you would have to add Westbrook, right? Salary wise, you would feel like so. If you do that, and then Kevin Durant, even if when Kyrie leaves, Kevin Durant is going to ask for a trade. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where if Kyrie leaves, I think Kevin's out.
Any chance we can talk to Daryl Morey and figure it out and get him here?
I mean,
Kevin Durant, we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean that's one of those. I mean, if I was Daryl,
Tobias Harris,
try hard, huh?
Tobias Harris and whatever.
Yeah, I mean, but would you give up Maxey for him?
Tobias Harris and Maxey for Kevin Durant?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah,
I would. I would, of course, try Tobias Harris and Matisse Thybulle, but I would definitely, I would have to look into doing something like that. We're talking about Kevin Durant. So
yeah, but I don't think you could get Tobias and Maxey. I mean, and Matisse for Kevin Durant.
No,
I think
I
that's
understand
the salary match.
Yeah, I understand that because now you're talking about they're looking to rebuild and they're going to want something. If Tobias Harris has the 2 years, they're going to get his money off the books in 2 years. Maxey is the one that they're going to look to pay, keep him around and build with him if that was the case. But this is one that's intriguing. How real is it? Don't know, but it will have a lot of ripple effects and impacts in the Atlantic Division, the Eastern Conference. And again, with the 76ers, we have to pay attention to this. Keith, thanks. We got to thank everybody for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. On our next episode, we got to get into the front office and the head coach and their importance of this offseason. It's huge for this basketball team. No more second-round exits, so we have to talk about the front office and the head coach. Now, make your second listen Locked On NBA for Locked On experts covering the biggest stories around the NBA, like Kyrie Irving, every Monday through Friday in less than 30 minutes. Is free and available wherever you get your podcast. Keith, let the people know where they can find us, please.
Wherever you get your podcast, like my man D said, you can subscribe to this podcast. If you want to get this YouTube channel, you want to look at us, go to Locked On 76ers YouTube channel. You click on the Liberty Bell. That's how you subscribe to it. Also, this week, make sure you listen to D in the morning. So you're on the morning show at 97.5. So make sure you get up and you listen to him. You can also follow me by going to Enquirer.com or picking up the Philadelphia Inquirer. But you need to follow us on Twitter. Follow my man D at DivineG975 and follow me at Pompey on Sixers.
Absolutely. And Keith, of course, will be hands-on for all of the things that are going on with the 76ers, checking in on all the intel and the sources and seeing what's happening with this basketball team. If you want to know where any player might be coming into town, leaving town, Pompey on Sixers, that's where you guys need to focus on during the start of free agency. Not only today on Monday, but Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and after as well. Keith, thanks so much, man. As always, appreciate it, and we'll catch up tomorrow, man.
All right, bro. Good talking to you.
Peace. You as always. Thanks, folks.